My name's Noah Carter. I'm 34 years old and a senior project manager for a construction firm in Dallas, Texas. I've spent over a decade working my way up from drafting blueprints in a cramped office to overseeing multi-million-dollar projects across the city. My life has always been built on careful planning, steady progress, and keeping my word. 3 years ago, at a mutual friend's backyard barbecue, I met Luna Hayes. She was 30, a corporate event planner with a personality that seemed to light up every corner of the yard. Luna had this effortless way of making you feel like the most interesting person in the world. She was confident, magnetic, and at least back then, I thought she was exactly the kind of woman who would value the same loyalty and stability I did. Our relationship moved fast. Within a year, Luna had moved into my townhouse, a property I'd purchased years before we met, paid for entirely with my own savings. It wasn't just a house to me, it was the physical proof of years of discipline and sacrifice. By the time I proposed, I felt certain I was investing my life in someone who shared my values. I popped the question on the balcony of a rented cabin in the Smoky Mountains. Sunset, a ring that cost 4 months of my salary, and a future I believed was unshakable. She said yes instantly, tears streaming down her face, and posted the news to Instagram before I'd even had time to put the ring box back in my pocket. For a while, life seemed perfect. Luna thrived on attention at social gatherings, and I was content to let her take the spotlight while I stayed in the background. We were a good balance, or so I thought. But a few months after our engagement, I started noticing cracks in the picture we presented to the world. It began with small things. Luna started keeping her phone face down on the table. She began going to networking events that stretched late into the night, coming home with vague stories that didn't match the effort she put into dressing up for them. On more than one occasion, she came through the door with the faint scent of men's cologne that wasn't mine. At first, I told myself it was stress. She was managing multiple high-profile events, and the schedule was unpredictable. But the inconsistencies started to stack up. The moment I knew my instincts weren't overreacting came on a Thursday night. Luna said she was meeting a client for dinner at a well-known downtown restaurant. I happened to be nearby after a late work meeting, so I drove past. Her car wasn't there. Not in the lot, not on the street. I didn't confront her. That's not my way. I file information away, let the picture form before I act. 2 weeks later, she dropped the request that would set everything in motion. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I was reviewing blueprints in my home office when she leaned against the doorframe, arms folded, her tone oddly casual. "Noah, I think I need some space," she said, "just a few weeks to clear my head." No fight, no explanation, no tears, just those words. I agreed without hesitation, not because I believed her, but because I wanted to see exactly where this space would take her and what I would do once I knew the truth. Looking back now, that was the moment my fiancé betrayal story truly began. I didn't realize it yet, but in a matter of weeks, I'd be out of that house, every item that was mine in my possession, and she'd be staring at an empty home, wondering how everything had changed so fast. And the truth is, her shock would make it all worth it. Luna moved out the following Friday afternoon, suitcase in hand, claiming she'd be staying with a friend to think. She gave me a light kiss on the cheek, as if this was some casual trial separation instead of the most suspicious request I'd ever heard. I watched her drive away without asking which friend. I already knew I'd find out soon enough. The first few days were strange. The house felt quieter, emptier. Our routines, dinners together, movie nights on the couch, even her habit of leaving half-empty coffee mugs around the living room were suddenly gone. That silence gave me space to think clearly. And with clarity came determination. By the third day, my curiosity turned into action. I wasn't interested in guessing. I wanted facts. Luna had left her old tablet on the coffee table, still logged into her accounts. I told myself I'd only look if I felt something was truly wrong. That moment had arrived. I started with her social media. Most posts were normal. Selfies, work events, a few pictures of us. But then I saw something that stopped me cold. 2 weeks earlier, she'd posted a photo at a coffee shop I didn't recognize. The shot was cropped oddly, as if someone had been removed from the frame. Her Facebook painted a fuller picture. Among the likes and comments, one name appeared again and again, Ethan Miles, a name I vaguely remembered from a passing story years ago, her ex-boyfriend. The one who, according to her, had broken her heart and taught her what she didn't want in a man. Apparently, Ethan had recently moved back to Dallas, and judging by their online interactions, he was now a regular fixture in her life. Still, I didn't jump to conclusions. Not until the following Friday night, when my college friend and trusted confidant, Marcus Lee, called me out of the blue. "Noah, I don't know if I should tell you this," he began. "Go ahead," I said, my voice steady. "I saw Luna tonight. She was at a wine bar in Uptown. Not with coworker. She was with some guy, short hair, leather jacket, and they looked, well, let's just say they didn't look like they were catching up as friends." I didn't need him to say the name. I already knew. "Did you get a picture?" I asked. Marcus hesitated, then admitted he had. A moment later, my phone buzzed. There was Luna, smiling, leaning in close, her hand resting on Ethan's arm. The kind of body language you don't fake. That photo changed everything. It wasn't just suspicion now, it was proof. Proof that the woman I was supposed to marry was spending her time to think, rekindling things with the man she'd once sworn was her biggest mistake. I didn't confront her. That's not how you win in a real-life revenge story. I'd learned early in life that revenge isn't about screaming matches or emotional outbursts. It's about strategy, planning, making sure every move is deliberate. That night, I started my checklist. Document everything, screenshots, photos, timestamps, protect my assets. The house was in my name, purchased before I ever met her. Separate belongings. Every item she owned would be boxed and accounted for. If Luna wanted to test the waters with her ex, fine, but when she came back, she wouldn't find the man she'd left behind. She'd find a man who'd moved faster and smarter than she ever imagined. And when she walked through that front door, she'd be looking at an empty house. Because I'd be gone, the home would be sold, and everything I owned would be with me. It wasn't just about ending the engagement anymore. This was going to be a lesson in what happens when you betray the wrong person. Once I had the photo of Luna with Ethan, my course was set. This wasn't about catching her in the act anymore. I already had that. This was about making sure that when the truth came out, I was holding every card. I started with documentation. Years of working in project management had taught me that without records, you have nothing. I saved every screenshot, including the cropped coffee shop picture, and every interaction between Luna and Ethan online. I took Marcus's photo and backed it up in 3 places: my phone, my laptop, and a secure cloud folder. Then came the financial side. The townhouse was mine, purchased 3 years before I met Luna, and I had the title documents to prove it. Texas law was on my side. No marriage, no common law status, no claim to the property. Still, I called my attorney, James Walker, just to confirm. His response was exactly what I needed to hear. "Noah, she has zero legal right to your home or its value. If you want to sell tomorrow, you can." That was the green light. Over the next week, while Luna was thinking, I began quietly preparing. I separated our possessions with surgical precision. Everything I had personally purchased stayed with me. Anything she could prove was hers. Furniture from her old apartment, personal items, clothing, went into clearly labeled boxes. The rest, the big-ticket items we'd bought together but I had receipts for, stayed in my possession. My meticulous habit of saving every invoice, from the living room TV to the stainless steel appliances, suddenly paid off in a big way. Next, I called in a favor from a friend in real estate, Sarah Bennett. She'd helped me buy the townhouse and knew the Dallas market well. "If you list it now, you'll have offers in days," she said. "Inventory's low and prices are hot." I told her I wanted it done quietly, no for sale sign yet. She lined up 3 private showings for serious buyers within the week. I didn't want Luna catching wind until it was too late. Meanwhile, I kept my outward communication with her bland and cordial. A short "hope you're well" text here. A "take all the time you need" message there. Let her believe I was waiting patiently for her to make a decision. But I wasn't waiting. I was building my exit. On Wednesday, the break in my calm came from an unexpected source: Luna's friend, Melissa, who I'd always thought was more loyal to her than me. She messaged me late that night. "Noah, I can't pretend I don't know what's going on. Luna isn't staying with a friend. She's been at a hotel with Ethan since the day she left." I didn't respond right away. There was nothing she told me that I didn't already know. But having confirmation from someone inside Luna's circle, that was gold. It meant that when this confrontation happened, there would be no room for her to spin the story. At this point, my relationship betrayal and revenge plan was in full motion. Step 1. Secure evidence. Done. Step 2. Protect and remove my assets. In progress. Step 3. Sell the house. Lining up buyers. Step 4. Deliver the shock. It was that last step that kept me focused. I wanted her to walk back into what she thought was our home and realize in an instant that the life she'd been keeping on the back burner while she tested old flames was gone. And when she saw those empty rooms, I wanted her to understand exactly what she'd lost. Not just me, but the stability, trust, and loyalty she'd never find in Ethan. Every time I thought about that moment, it reminded me why I wasn't confronting her now. The quiet execution of this plan was my victory. This wasn't a shouting match. This was a strategic win in a real-life revenge story that she'd replay in her mind for years. The buyers came through the next day. One couple in particular fell in love with the place and made a full-price offer. I didn't hesitate. I accepted, knowing that the clock was now ticking. 2 weeks until closing. 2 weeks until Luna's return. 2 weeks until she'd learned the cost of betraying the wrong man. The morning after I accepted the offer, I met with Sarah at her office to sign the initial paperwork. She slid the documents across the table with a smile. "Once this is processed, you'll be set to close in 2 weeks. I'll handle everything." 2 weeks, that was my deadline. Not just to sell the house, but to dismantle every visible trace of the life Luna and I had built. I called a moving company that afternoon. They agreed to schedule a full-service move the week before closing. Every item I wanted to keep would be packed and stored in my new apartment on the other side of town, a place Luna didn't know existed. By Friday, the sorting process was in full swing. I worked room by room, labeling boxes with either keep, donate, or Luna. Everything she could prove was hers, her clothes, old furniture from her first apartment, personal keepsakes, went into labeled bins. Anything ambiguous but bought with my money stayed with me. Years of receipts and detailed purchase records made those decisions easy. Every time I sealed another box, I felt lighter. This wasn't just moving out, it was reclaiming my life from someone who had taken my loyalty for granted. Meanwhile, Luna's messages continued in the same empty tone. "Hope you're okay, I'll reach out soon. Still figuring things out. Thanks for giving me space." Space, that word again. She thought this was a pause button, that she could test the waters with her ex and still have me waiting if it didn't work out. But I wasn't waiting. I was winning. The second week, I scheduled donation pickups for the things neither of us needed. A charity truck pulled up, and I watched as they loaded the couch, old chairs, and a coffee table we'd picked out together. Once, I might have felt nostalgic. Now, I just felt relieved. On Thursday, the buyer's inspector came through. By then, the house was already half empty. I saw the puzzled look on his face, but I didn't explain. This wasn't just a real estate transaction. This was the setup for a moment I'd been picturing since the night Marcus sent me that photo. Friday afternoon, I received an unexpected visit. A black SUV pulled into the driveway, and out stepped Ethan. The nerve. He walked up to the door with a smug look and extended his hand. "Noah, right? I'm Ethan. I think we should talk." I let him in, mostly because I wanted to see where he was going with this. He glanced around the half-empty living room. "Nice place. Luna always said you two had a great setup." I kept my voice calm. "We did. I paid for it. She decorated." He chuckled nervously before getting to the point. "Look, this situation, it wasn't planned. Luna's just confused. Maybe it's better if you and I work out an amicable agreement. You know, avoid drama." I smiled faintly. "An amicable agreement? Like me walking away so you two can feel better about what you've been doing behind my back?" His silence was answer enough. "Ethan," I said, stepping toward the window. "Do you see that?" I pointed to the corner of the yard, where a discreet real estate lockbox was attached to the fence. "This house is sold. In less than 2 weeks, it won't be mine. And it definitely won't be Luna's. I've taken everything that belongs to me, and the rest will be gone before she walks back through that door." For the first time, his confident expression faltered. "This," I continued, "isn't about drama. It's about closure. And when she comes back, she's going to get exactly that." He left without another word. That night, I stood in the center of my almost empty living room, the echoes of my footsteps bouncing off bare walls. This wasn't just a move, it was the final stage of my engagement betrayal revenge plan. The house was sold. My belongings were secured, and Luna had no idea that in a matter of days, she'd walk into the biggest shock of her life. It was a Sunday afternoon when Luna finally reached out with a different tone. "Noah, I think I'm ready to talk. Can I come by this weekend?" I replied with a simple Sunday, 3 o'clock. By that point, the house was entirely empty, except for 2 folding chairs I'd borrowed from a neighbor. Every picture had been taken down, every piece of furniture either boxed, donated, or moved to my new apartment. The closing papers were signed. The house technically still belonged to me for another 48 hours, but in my mind, it was already gone. At 2:30 p.m., I saw her car pull into the driveway. She was alone, wearing a smile that told me she thought this was a reunion. She let herself in with her old key, but her footsteps slowed when she reached the living room. Her eyes darted across the bare walls and stripped floors. What happened here?" I gestured to the folding chair opposite mine. "Have a seat. Let's talk." She sat cautiously, her gaze scanning the room again. "Noah, where's all our stuff?" I reached into my jacket and handed her an envelope. Inside was a key to a storage unit, along with a detailed inventory list. "Everything that's yours is in there, paid 6 months in advance. The rest, it's gone with me." Her brow furrowed. "Gone with you? What are you talking about?" I leaned forward slightly. "Luna, While you were taking your space to think about our engagement, I was thinking too, and I decided I'm not going to be anyone's backup plan." Her face paled. "That's not fair. I just needed time to think," I finished for her. "Yes, I heard you the first time. But let's be honest, you weren't at a friend's house reflecting. You were at a hotel with Ethan. I have the photos, the messages, even a confirmation from one of your own friends." Her lips parted as if to deny it, but the words never came. "I sold the house," I continued, my voice even. "The sale closes in 2 days. I've already moved into my new place. Everything I paid for is with me. When you walk out of here today, you'll be leaving an empty house behind, just like the trust you left behind when you walked out on me." Her eyes glistened, but she forced a laugh. "So you're just ending it, after everything we've been through?" I shook my head. "You ended it the moment you chose to see if the grass was greener with someone else. I'm just finishing what you started." She stared at me, realization settling in. "You really took everything." I met her gaze without flinching. "Everything that was mine. And the one thing you can't get back, my trust." For a long moment, we sat in silence. Finally she stood, still clutching the envelope. "I never thought you'd do something like this." I stood as well. "That's the difference between us, Luna. I keep my promises, but I also know when to walk away. This isn't just about revenge, it's about respect, and you lost the right to mine." She hesitated in the doorway, looking back once more, as if hoping I'd call her name. I didn't. When the door closed behind her, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: peace. 3 months later, my emotional betrayal recovery was well underway. I'd settled into my new apartment, taken on bigger projects at work, and even started dating again, slowly, on my terms. Word got back to me through mutual friends that her fling with Ethan had fizzled in less than 6 weeks. Apparently the grass wasn't greener after all, but by then, it didn't matter. My life was no longer defined by what she'd done. It was defined by the fact that I'd taken control of my own ending. If you've ever lived through an engagement betrayal or a relationship betrayal and revenge story like mine, you know one truth. Sometimes the best closure isn't an apology. It's watching them realize you've already moved on and taken everything that mattered with you,